Audio son, you burn the swine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them art no kind. Comes I say them art no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money never, money never, money never, money never, money never, money. I know what you conniving, money, money never, money never, money, money never, money, money. You can keep your conniving money. When you been a corrupt bum, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. Then you had your pocket full, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money never, money never, money, money never, money, money. Now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me wap. A 2 pound note and a guild piece. A 2 pound note and a guild piece. A 2 pound note and a guild piece. That's all the money that me wap. I said money never, money never, money, money never, money, money. I know what you can have in money.
I invoke the WPA's position that we are engaging in civil disobedience and non-cooperation with the government, and on that grounds I refuse to participate in the interview. The question in struggle, is not personal. Whatever sacrifice as a political activist or a political leader you have to make for your people, you have to make it.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Kams Tv, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politicians they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Here's one set of people getting aisle money. Here's one set of people doing the tea for repeat. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. Politicians, you are a part of the cycle. I say, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Rickford, Bork and Mark Benchcop, David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam, Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London, Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Port People Governor, Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson, Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
morning time. I am your host, the BUXTONIAN, Kidaki Amsterdam. It is 7 hours 31 on the 18th day of May in the year 2023. Welcome to the program. How you been last night? How you spent your yesterday? Made some money yesterday? Anybody got promotion? Anybody got fired? Anybody get the scoop? What's happening? Y'all talk to me. How you spend your last night? Did you get to rest well? You had some good dreams? Dry or wet ones? Well, I don't know. Morning. I hope you were able to achieve your goals yesterday. I hope you were able to accomplish what you set out to accomplish. I hope that you can rest a little easier knowing that you have done your part and you're continuing to do your part. I hope that you are re-energized and that you can recommit to the struggle to make not only the country a better place, but your communities and your homes, your families. And quite frankly, it starts in the opposite direction in that we first start with our homes and our communities, our children. Because it is those children and family members that we send out into the society. And things are regularly something wrong. Let me see. Are you hearing me? Yes, you are hearing me, but I don't think you're seeing me. Because I'm getting the impression that my camera is frozen. Right, we'll fix that. Quick time. Yeah, so that's better now. Yes, I'm saying it is our family members that we send out into society to operate at whichever level. And so if we were to fix our families, the possibility is we're going to have better communities. And by extension, we are going to have better society. That's only me trying to be logical. We know of all of the challenges in society. We know that many families are not able to exert a positive influence on their family members. As a matter of fact, I always argue that good and bad is relative. Good and bad is relative. And so positive and negative in the eyes of a lot of people will be relative. Let me explain that to you. Those who were born with gold spoons in their mouth, who were born into wealth and so on, who had the ease of upbringing, maybe because they had a nanny or so on and so forth. Right? Would see that as positive for them. And they will see someone who has grown up in poverty, or as we like to say in the ghetto, fighting for survival, as negative from where they stand. And so for them, a positive influence on their family members would basically be socializing them to continue along the lines of wealth acquisition and whether it's investments or whatever, that family trait. And when they succeed in getting their children to toe that line,
they for the most part see that as a positive influence. Good. Well, when you look across the island, you see those who are growing up in poverty and strugglation and so on. What is positive for them? What is positive for them? That is the question many of us ask. We see generations upon generations living in poverty. The vicious cycle of poverty is active among them all the time. Right? But even in that poverty-stricken state, due respect, right? Due respect is given to that one family member or members who managed to get a bicycle. Or better yet, managed to get a car. They're still in a strugglation, they're still in poverty. But they have been able to step a few inches above the others. That is positive for them. So a mother who raised 5 children by begging on the streets or doing domestic work or whatever she had to do is encouraged, feels that she has done well when her offspring doesn't have to do what she is doing or was doing to provide for them. And sometimes what that offspring is doing is not necessarily positive. Keep that in mind. In the eyes of other people. Right? So in a family of thieves, pickpockets, the one who graduates to be a trunker or a fraudster is seen in some instances as having achieved more than the others who are mere pickpockets. They see that person in a positive light. Hey, the man is hustler, boy. The man is getting back. But from the other side of the aisle, those who were born with gold spoon in the mouth see that person as menace to society, sees that person as a failure, sees all of that as negative. So like I say, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. It depends on who looking and from what point of view they're assessing. All those of us in the opposition, or I will assume all of us in the opposition, sees the behavior of the government, the installed cabal, as negative for this country. Because we are looking from the side of the aisle where people are oppressed, people are discriminated against, people are not given fair chances or participation, much less success. But from another side of the aisle where most of the people look like the government, or the government looks like most of the people, and who are getting a quote-unquote bigger slice of the pie than us on the other side. They see the government's action as positive. They see it as good. So my argument, my thesis, if you want to call it that, is that good and bad is relative. It depends on who looking and what they're looking for. But like I usually say, as long as you could sleep at nights, you're not at rot with your conscience, you determine what floats your boat. You determine what floats your boat. But at the end of the day, Remember, no man is an island. No man is an island. And since existence is interdependent, we are dependent on each other. It is necessary, absolutely necessary, to stop and think, how will my actions affect the others? How will my actions affect the others? How will my actions affect my family, society, and my family, community, and society? And as we look around, we are seeing in this society, it would appear as though a lot of people are not thinking about that. In our African Guyanese communities, in our homesteads, we see people are making selfish decisions, as we call it. Like the caller said yesterday, once a man could get a car or bicycle, aided and abetted by the government, then he feels the government is doing well. Once the people who are in illegal business can continue to do their illegal business unbothered by the agencies of state, they would say that the government is doing well. That's a government that is facilitating their growth, and so they will see it as doing well. But the law-abiding citizens will see that government is not doing good enough. So I guess we are always going to have this, to unfold this argument, this contention, as to whether or not the government is good for the country. Sometimes we have to look closer. I keep reminding you, shiny things are not necessarily progress. Shiny things are not necessarily progress. And so despite the fact you're seeing shiny things around the country, around the city and so on, and some people are shouting progress, 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 I disagree. Let me give you an example. I like to talk about Lamaha Street, the Lamaha Street embankment. The project is now from Main Street or High Street all the way over Vicingen Road. It's heading, is that Camberville area? All the way over Vicingen Road, along Lamaha Street, heading towards, I guess it is heading to Sheriff Street. Let me say that because that's the direction they're heading to. Right? My estimation is that hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent on that project. They might call it a city enhancement project, they might call it whatever they want to call it. It's promoted as recreational space for people in the city and so on. But what I see that development being used for, that infrastructure being used for, every time I go into the city, I can't avoid observing. It's a vehicle park. It is a vehicle park. Anybody who sees it, anybody who passes there and wants to tell me otherwise, you're free to call right now and tell me that, no, Mr. Amsterdam, you're wrong. Tell me what is happening with that infrastructure that the government is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to develop. It's aesthetic. Yeah, it will give, in their minds, the city a good look. Tourists and most visitors coming into Guyana, for the most part, dwell around the city. So yes, the city is bright and twinkly. And so Guyana is progressing. That's the impression, that's the image the administration is hoping to give to the world. And those who can't see past the 3-car trip. Right? That's the image. How does that contribute to the economy? Yeah, somebody can come and tell me it's going to be tourist attraction. Right? What if it's a tourist attraction? Oh, it is only motor vehicles that park there every time you pass. How is it? How is it? So all those who are saying progress is happening, I want them to look at that simple project and tell me how it's progress for the citizens of this country. First and foremost, as far as I'm concerned, you have to have a vehicle to benefit from that infrastructure, because that is what it is used for right now. That is the only thing I see people doing, park their vehicles there. And you know what I promised to do? I said it there when I'm in the city, I will drive on to that park, that promenade, whatever they call it, and try to park my vehicle. Because I want to see what the reaction will be from those who perhaps are higher the security for the promenade. I think they might have security. I think I saw security hut. So I want to test it to see if there's any time the carrier John could go and park there. I want to see that. And so I will test it. I promise I will test it. I don't know when, but I will test it. But I'm pointing out that to say to you, that is no progress. That is hundreds of millions of dollars being used to do a twinkling piece of work, a twinkling construction, a twinkling infrastructure, to give people the impression that progress is happening. But when you go into communities, right? In fact, I'm not even going to go into communities yet. Right from the junction of Vicingen Road, east of Vicingen Road, towards Sheriff Street, that whole section of the Lamaha Street is collapsing. It has been in a deplorable state since I was a boy. And those of you who use it or who are aware, again, you can tell me if I'm out of touch because they did it recently or so on. I've gone through there for the last, let's say, month to be conservative. But I haven't gone through there in recent times. But I know I can put my head on a block that has not been fixed. That entire section of the Lamar Street Road continuing over Vicingen Road needs fixing. Are we saying the money that we're taking to pave the embankment could not be used, or part of that money could not be used to fix that road, which will bring more benefit, more ease, more relief to commuters and residents of that particular section of the city? Why then is it not done? Because that is not shiny, and that is not attractive, and that is not twinkling enough to give people the impression that progress is happening. Right. Yesterday morning, and every morning when we address certain issues, the likes of Randy Singh and so will come on and ask about Durban Park project. What happened to Durban Park? Well, I'm saying to you here and now that pound for pound, dollar for dollar, the money spent at Durban Park is bringing more returns to the citizens of this country compared to the money that is spent on the Lama embankment. Why did I say that? More people use Durban Park on a daily basis than they use the Lama embankment. I'm not defending the Durban Park project as the best design, as the best, it must have had the best intentions, because I've seen artists' impression of what the project should have been. I've read about what the project should have been. I've heard about what the project should have been, and so on. I understand that in haste, bad decisions were made. But the reality is, despite all of the negatives surrounding Durban Park, it is used by more citizens for more reasons on a daily basis than Lamaha Street embankment. And so I am saying that people are getting more value out of Durban Park than they're getting from Lamaha Street embankment. Again, let ideas contend. I would like some one of you to call me and say, well, Mr. Amsterdam, you're wrong again. Every government makes bad decisions. But when one government keeps making bad decision upon bad decision upon bad decision, you have to stop back and ask yourself, what really is their plan? Roger Fong is saying share junkies use that park. You're disrespectful to the Guyanese who go there to exercise, who go there to practice their driving, who go there to play sports. They're not junkies. But if you're going to raise the junkie issue, then again, let's ask the government what they're doing about the junkie issue. Because the state is supposed to take care of mendicants in the society. The state is supposed to take care of the those of unsung minds. They're not supposed to be roaming the streets like and be a danger unto other members of the society. So that questions the government's social security program, if I can call it that. Many of you live in developed countries. Is it a norm to have junkies and people of unsung mind roaming the streets? Sleeping in public infrastructure? Huh? That's what I want to know. So when you come and say, I share junkie, let's use that place. Not true, not accurate, not honest. But I guess it's a political statement you want to make. Right? We're talking about value for money. We're talking about progress. What really is progress in the eyes of some people? And let me say this again. You see, you have to think outside of the box sometimes. Again, despite the mismanagement, as I would call it, of money at Durban Park because of rush and haste and poor management and so on, Guyanese again are receiving more value for money from that investment than they are from Lamaha Street. Do you remember the days of the PPP when Durban, that whole stretch of Durban Park was a jungle in the city? Can you remember the forest in the city? Can you remember that? That entire area was cleared out as a result of that Durban Park project. That entire area was cleaned and maintained. And so the people living around there can tell you what an ease they got. I would assume no more mosquitoes, infection, and rodents and stuff like that. Less environmental risk for them. Can you remember when that jungle, that forest existed where that Durban Park development took place? And so despite the fact, I'm saying again, despite the fact that it was poorly managed, it was poorly thought out, especially with those wooden stands, knowing the climate and so on would eventually destroy them. There's nothing wrong with the tarmac. There's nothing wrong with the tarmac. And the tarmac is being used every day by more people. More ordinary citizens. Than this promenade project that is serving right now as a car park. Somebody say we need, I don't think they say car parks, but we need parking spaces or whatever. Right? Quite frankly, in the city, parking should for a large part be a responsibility of business owners. You're talking about progress. You have all of these high-rises being constructed in the city, for example, by friends of the government for the most part, whether with clean or laundered cash. But there's no policy that says for every high-rise that is constructed, the basement should be used for parking. And so you have a new edifice in the city, a 4, 5, 6-story building, shopping complex, mall, whatever you want to call it, but no parking for customers of that mall. And so people have to be scavenging around the city to find parking to go to that mall. If you understand Guyanese, you understand that wherever they're going, that is where they want to park. But there's no policy that says when you construct these high-rise buildings, the ground floor, the first floor, the basement, whatever they call it, whatever you want to call it, should provide parking for customers. Good? So, we can argue that the spending is justified for Lamar Street because people are parking there. We can argue that. So where are we seeing progress? Public servants are punishing, for want of a better word. Salaries are not increasing. Cost of living is going up every day. More people are challenged to provide for their families. That is resulting in more crimes being committed, more neglect from family members. People that go out and hustle on their own, whether underage or of age, minors or adults. And some more crimes are committed in the society, whether petty or serious. Are you saying more criminal activities are indications of progress in a society? Is that what we're saying? More corruption is taking place in the society. Are we saying that is progress? There is so much corruption in the Guyana police force right now that every week I receive a complaint. Every week I receive a complaint of corruption from the Guyana police force. You wouldn't believe it. I shared with you last week or the week before. Last week or the week before, I shared with you the story of the policeman that has his own receipt book The policeman that has his own receipt book, I share with you that story. This week, and I also, when I told you about that, I also told you that the person was who was tasked with auditing right? The person was tasked with auditing. Actually proposed to the perpetrator of that fraud what I would want to call a settlement. Basically it was, listen, give me so much money that will cover the services of myself and others. List it. And we will make this thing go away for you. You remember me mentioning that? Well, let me tell you about another fraud in the Guyana Police Force. And those of you who have served the Guyana Police Force, Pastor Martin, Mr. Slow, I hope you're listening. Prosecutor Boka, I hope you're listening. There's something they call general duty. By general duty, ranks are dispatched to certain locations and so on to work. Now, those ranks who are doing general duty at the Ogle Airport would normally get a yearly stipend. And that stipend is usually sent to the commander of the division. Which month is this now? This is May month. This is 5 months. Right? This is the 5th month of the year, and those ranks are still to see 1 blind cent from this stipend. 1 blind cent. They have not seen any money from their stipend. They have not been paid their stipend. The information is that this money was issued out. But up until now, the ranks have not seen this money. I told you what the racket is in relation to that. They wait until the accounting period comes to an end, usually year end. And when the ranks inquire about their money, what is the answer? That money was written off as liability because of year end. You can't get nothing. That money was written off as liability. It's the end of the year. And say I can't get it. But a check of the records will indicate that that money was never returned to the police coffers nor the consolidated fund. Or the source, let me call it that. Hundreds of millions of dollars I siphoned off from the Guyana Police Force and the ranks of the Guyana Police Force. My commanders and other senior ranking officers of the Guyana Police Force. It is worse under the PPP government. Nobody argues that it was not happening previously or it had not happened previously. But it is worse under the PPP government. Is that progress? Is that progress? You see what a lot of people believe, Guyanese believe generally, because most of us have not traveled this country, because for the greater part we can't afford to travel. A lot of us behave as though Georgetown is Guyana. And so when we look around Georgetown and we see twinkling things, we believe that, hey, we're going places. We're going places. But check in all of your communities and examine. I always talk about the quality of your roads. Examine your healthcare provisions. Examine the state of education in your community. Examine the state of recreational facilities in your community. Examine the state of unemployment in your community. And then you can really make a fair assessment as to whether or not progress is happening. You drive through certain city communities or wards of the city, as they say, and you want to know if you're in the city. That's how you measure progress. How has the government improved your lives? What are the policies of government? How are those policies contributing to good governance? A friend was telling me yesterday, I think, under the Guyana administration, they used to sleep like a baby at night because they felt so comfortable and secure, safe in their homes. Now they're sleeping like cats. But all of the resources available to this country, with all of the resources available to this country, teachers are still complaining of poor infrastructure where they are working. One teacher shared with me the other day that she never knew that she was working in a dry weather school until the rain started last week. Every section of the school is leaking. Every section of the school is leaking. When hundreds of millions, or don't let me say hundreds of millions, multiple millions, squares of millions were returned to the consolidated fund or the Ministry of Finance, whichever, by the Ministry of Education recently from the previous budget. Monies are returning to the coffers of the state from the Ministry of Education, and schools are in a state of disrepair and furniture shortage and resource shortage and so on. Is that progress? Are your managers efficient? If you were running a private business, would you allow them to run it like that? All those of you come and praise the likes of Anil Nandlal and Ramston and 2-inch, I don't even remember his name, strange enough. Right? All those who come here and sing the praises of these clowns, would you hire any of them to run your business? Huh? Would you? Would you hire somebody to manage your business? If when they come, whatever infrastructure they reach in place, instead of improving on it, instead of growing the business from where it is, All they're interested in is breaking down everything and putting their stamp on everything. Ask that. Would you? The very Durban Park that they criticize ever so often. Durban Park is a classic case of wickedness in government. Because while we are complaining that the stands are now dilapidated and ants infested and so on, we can argue strongly. I can say without it, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that if the government of the day were doing maintenance at that facility, the deterioration would not have been so rapid. But they came in and the intention is, left it let fall long, let me make them look bad. But who suffers? Who suffers? Who loses? The citizens lose. Because the stands become unserviceable. They become a danger to people eventually. They will be torn down and hundreds of millions will go to waste. While that might have happened eventually, or while that would have had to happen eventually, the lack of maintenance and the neglect of it by this current administration is simply speeding up that process. Would you hire someone who behaves like that to manage your business? Would you? The simple questions I'm asking this morning. The teachers still have some questions to ask. Yeah, David Amsterdam. I wish you would send one of your family members to bring a donation. But you ain't doing though. I wonder why. What are you afraid of? They might like what I see, no? I know. I understand what jealousy looks like. I raised with you a few weeks ago what was happening over at CPC with the teachers who are in training. Again, we can talk about value for money. Because first and foremost, you know, this government, this instant cabal tries to, in their minds, do everything that the coalition government did. Right? And so the coalition government was training teachers, they were improving the quality of education and so on and so forth. Right? And so Priya decided that she will train more teachers than were ever trained in this country. And so they over-enrolled, they overbooked, they took in too many students to the CPC, way above the capacity of CPC for physical classes. They had to find an alternative. Okay, we are going to have to do a combination, online and in person. So the online platform we will use is Moodle. But even that, they couldn't use the resources to ensure that the platform was of the highest quality. They couldn't ensure that the platform was of the highest quality. Support systems are in place. They couldn't ensure that. All they did was just hardly decide, okay, we can't keep all of them can't attend physical class, we're going to put them online. What happened? The trainee teachers are seeing hell. Because while they were supposed to be assigned to schools, not all of them were assigned to schools. And in those that were assigned to schools, are challenged to function in classrooms because they basically are going down, as we like to see. And they still have to submit assignments, which is expected. You're a student, you have to submit your assignments. But every time they go to Moodle to submit their assignment, guess what happened? Moodle crashes. And so the teachers are frustrated. Here is the one that I want to share with you from them. Teachers of CPC early childhood need urgent help. They need urgent help. The story goes, well, nothing ain't loading this morning for me. The CPC, that is the Sirpoti College of Education, has long been known for its role in training teachers in Guyana. However, the recent shift towards online learning is most welcoming, but has highlighted the institution's shortcomings in delivering quality education to its teachers. It is concerning to note that the college is seemingly setting its teachers up for failure by not providing the necessary tools and support needed for effective online learning. As such, urgent solutions must be sought to ensure that the CPC is able to provide quality education to its teachers in the online sphere. In recent times, the college has been facing several challenges that have threatened its smooth operations. The college's administration has been struggling to deliver on its mandate due to poor planning, inadequate staffing of lecturers, and a lack of response to the concerns raised by the teachers and students. The first year teachers in particular have been working tirelessly to try and salvage the situation, but the efforts seem not to be bearing any fruit. It is high time that urgent action was taken to restore normalcy in the college before things get worse. As a stakeholder invested in the education of teachers, it is important to understand the current state of the college and its ability to provide proper education. While there have been some efforts by a handful of competent lecturers, the reality is that the college is struggling and falling short of its potential. To fully understand the dire need for changes to come, it is important to have a clear view of the current state of education in the college. At the start of the year, frustration among teachers was at an all-time high as poor communication from the college administration left many feeling lost and unprepared. Despite efforts from both parties to get this semester off to a good start, it seemed as though the administration was scrambling and no one was truly sure what to do. Teachers found themselves unsure of their roles and responsibilities, while at the same time struggling to navigate the confusing registration process. This resulted in a rocky start to the semester that was far from ideal. This semester has been plagued with a major issue that has detrimentally affected the education of these teachers. More than 50% of the courses offered had no lecturers at the start of the college term. And this problem persists to this day. As a result, teachers have been left to fend for themselves, struggling to succeed in this lackluster academic environment. The institution has not provided any support or resolution, making for a challenging and disheartening learning experience. Additionally, the influx of course material on Moodle has become overwhelming for teachers at the college. In many cases, the administration posts large amounts of content without proper guidance or instructions on how to navigate it. This makes it difficult for teachers to gain a comprehensive understanding of the intended concepts. While Moodle can be an incredibly useful tool, it is essential that the administration takes the necessary steps to ensure that the platform is used effectively and that students are not overwhelmed by the sheer volume of content. With the ever-increasing demands of a fast-paced educational system and society, teachers also find themselves caught in the middle of a fierce battle to keep up with their academic and school lives while attending to their daily routines. Teachers are being pressured by the administration into completing several assignments, assessments, quizzes, tests, one after the other. The pressure to excel in their studies, complete countless assignments, and attend multiple classes at the same time leaves the students feeling overwhelmed and drained. On top of this, the added responsibility of taking care of the country's children further exacerbates their already busy schedules. These factors make it a struggle for them to maintain a healthy balance both physically and mentally. As a matter of fact, teachers are experiencing the struggle of trying to catch up with course materials that are difficult to understand. For example, Spanish, linguistics, just to name a few. The curriculum is rigorous, and the administration tends to post 12 to 14 weeks of modules to be completed within 2 to 3 weeks. This leaves little time for revision and preparation for the final exams. I believe this is an issue that needs to be addressed by the Ministry of Education to ensure that teachers receive the best possible learning experience. Another major concern that is faced is the sudden posting of tests and assessments without any prior notice. This has caused a lot of anxiety and stress among teachers, especially for those who are dealing with daily internet issues and Moodle crashing. A major problem that has arisen with this system is the administration's refusal of resitting exams or taking supplements to teachers who are at a disadvantage. The situation at the college is becoming increasingly dire as delays and bureaucracy continue to plague the administration. Teachers are feeling the brunt of the stress and pressure as they struggle to keep up with the demands of the course content while dealing with ineffective policies from both the Ministry of Education and CPC. Despite their best efforts, it seems that little progress is being made towards improving the situation, leaving many to wonder just how long will it take for change to come. Does the college's consideration of teachers need to wait till a few people start losing their lives because of stress, high blood pressure, or mental illness? In the meantime, those affected by this ongoing crisis can only hope for a solution to be found before it is too late. Next week, the final examinations are scheduled for, and in this current week, the administration is hustling to complete all course content in a hasty manner. Assessments and other evaluations. Teachers need urgent intervention before they all fail. Teachers are crying out for assistance. They need urgent help. They are disintegrating rapidly. They believe they are being set up to fail, and as such, they are pleading with the Minister of Education to step in as soon as possible to help them out of this predicament. I did raise perhaps all of these issues with you in a previous program. And here it is, teachers are now going public with their complaint. That's a letter to one of the online publications. I say in response to the program I did not so long ago, the ministry issued, I mentioned that last week, an advisory identifying what do you call them? I want to call it case officers for the different regions. In the different regions, right? they gave a list of the 10 regions and who are the officers that can be called to get assistance on these issues. But the teachers are saying that they have not received any improvement. There's no improvement. As a matter of fact, it's getting worse because they are now approaching examinations. And every lecturer is in a rush to complete their course content because all of the issues which plagued the program previously and prevented it starting on time reduced the number of weeks, the number of hours that they had to complete their course content. And so they're now rushing to complete it, putting students at a disadvantage because remember this, these are not students who are... 1 minute.
Hi, Kaliki, good morning.
Yes, caller. Hello?
Colonel, this is live.
Yes, you want to go live?
No, I don't want to go live.
All right, so can you call me back after the program or it's urgent?
Oh, till after the program. All right.
Talk to me, I'm listening to you. Call us on the line, viewers. I'm listening to you, caller. Yes, you know, that is why I know I will continue to do just what I'm doing because it's necessary to do. So yes, I'm saying to you, I'll tell you about that call just now. I know you're curious. Share your life. So remember now, these teachers are not full-time in the classroom anymore. Because normally CPC has different categories of teachers. They have, if I remember, you had in-service teachers, and I would just call them full-time. In-service teachers, as far as I remember, those teachers who are in the classroom, and then at certain times of the day they get relief from class to attend CPC. Right? So their instructional arrangements are different to those who are full-time teachers, in that they are not yet in the classroom, they are strictly trainees. Right? Good? Understand that? Now, if you have your teachers in classroom doing 8 hours or whatever the amount of time, and then you're forcing this content on them in service and pre-service. Thank you very much, Audrey. Right? So pre-service is before you even get the classroom, you go, you get your training, and you do teaching practice and so on, and then you go into the classroom. In service are those who are in the classroom, and then decide, or the system decides that you all need to go and get trained, so they go and so on. But what CPC has right now, everybody is an in-service teacher. Because of the overcrowding and all of the craziness that we are created. They assigned all of the trainee teachers to schools, to classrooms. Or all of them were to be assigned because some of them are still awaiting assignment. Right? So the dynamics are different. But here it is, they're rushing to force the content on the trainee teachers and disregarding the fact that these teachers are in schools on a daily basis teaching or learning to teach, whichever one, I don't know. Right? And so the teachers are stressed, the trainees are stressed, they're mentally strained and so on and so forth. And they're begging for help. But do you think prayer is going to help them? You think the ministry is Saddam Hussein and never You think they're going to help them? Their focus is at the end of the year to say that we trained the largest number of teachers in the history of CPC. But they're not paying attention to quality. So the question is asked again, is that progress? Is that progress? It's 8 hours 31. There are a number of other issues I want to talk about. But let me tell you what this phone call was about just now. And it came just at the right time. So maybe somebody is listening to this program as I talk about the Ministry of Education, Sitira Gal, and the lawlessness that they are doing in the education sector. The teachers and students at Hansgrove Secondary are now operating in a situation of chaos. Chaos because it's the best word I can find right now. You don't get the opportunity of thinking too long when you're on a live program. Right? The call I just received is, there has been a garbage pileup at Hansgrove Secondary School for the last several days. And the garbage pileup is now untenable, and the NDC workers are striking. And since the NDC workers are striking and the garbage is not going to be removed, somebody, the ministry or someone has recommended that the garbage be burnt. You know what I'm saying? So they have lit the garbage. Somebody lit the garbage. And teachers and students are now being affected by the smoke. Right? Teachers are being affected by the smoke. And let's talk progress here before I open up the lines. That has to be progress. Because when the coalition was in office, David Granger specifically issued an instruction, or the David Granger government issued an instruction. There was to be no burning, and there was to be no spraying. No burning of garbage because of smoke pollution and the discomforts that it causes, residents and so on. In an environment, you don't know what the illnesses are of the people. And so when you like to smoke somebody who's asthmatic, you're killing them. You're killing them. Likewise, when you spray chemicals in the air, it affects people, it affects plants, it affects vegetation, it affects food. And so it puts people's lives at risk. And so it was a policy of the Granger administration that dictated that things shouldn't be burnt in the environment, garbage especially. And pesticides especially should not be sprayed about the place. Pesticides and weedicides. You know what this administration does? And this is where you know the difference between good governance and quality governance and serious people. Right? They're those people they're giving contracts to for maintenance of drainage canals and so on and dams and so on. All in all as Minister of Agriculture as part of the Granger government, the contractors were not allowed to spray. You check every contract that this government has given up for the maintenance of drains and canals and so on and dams, and you will see the contractors simply come every 2 months, 3 months, and they spray the trenches, they spray the canals. They spray, they leave it for a couple of days, and then they come with rakes and they pull out the thing from the top. And all the root is down at the bottom there, creating new growth. And so while it appears though they're doing things, you're not getting value for money. And you're not progressing. You are saying to me that so many hundreds of millions of dollars have been budgeted for the Ministry of Education. And there's a garbage situation at a school and it can't be fixed. The garbage has to be burnt on site. What lawlessness is that? In other countries, the minister would go home. You know what I'm saying? In other countries, the minister would have gone home. Education officials would have gone home. But I guess nobody understands. The other day I was in the village and the boys were selling tilapia, fresh caught tilapia that they caught in the trenches. I grew up on bushfish. I used to like patwa. I particularly like stonefish. I don't know if you all know stonefish, salax, and huri, and what the other one name? Something looking like huri. Anyhow, but I used to like bushfish. And so I see this big tilapia, they're bigger than the palm of my hands. And the boys asked me if I wanted to buy. And I started to think, you know, it could be, I could either go tilapia curry this weekend, but then I had to think back. Yarrow, Audrey Brown, you know your fish, right? Me, buy tilapia from them trenches that are spraying every other month. Me, when studies have shown that all the chemicals that are spraying in these water and so on going to affect the aquamarine life. So I can buy Orion Part 1 and tilapia now because they're contaminating the water. And if you think that is progress, think again. Because there are people who traditionally made their living and continue to make their living from catching fishes out of those canals and those trenches. And so those of us who are not aware of the dangers, we will buy them, we will consume them, and then we will turn up with some miraculous illness and wonder, how did I get this? How did I end up being poisoned? I don't work with poison. I've ingested poison at least knowingly. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Are you? Hey, morning, yeah. Good. You know what I'm even morning? It is 7 hours 32 on the 19th of May in the year 2023. Good morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time with the BUXTONIAN Kidaki Amsterdam. How y'all been, man? What happened yesterday? Anything wonderful? You see the Guyana women lawyers found their bikes by they come out. Of course they had to they follow the lead of Selvin Peters and so on. Right. I wonder where the other guardians of democracy are. But anyhow, morning, how y'all do? What was yesterday? Y'all passed yesterday. Last night was good. I hope some of you had a terrific night. Slept well, dreamt well, make some plan in your sleep that you will execute today. I hope you made some money yesterday from those plans you previously made. Right. Yes, lawlessness at its best. We living in a lawless society. Don't worry yourself, done it. Is done it in it? Yes, done it. Don't worry yourself. We live in a lawless society. You know, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about yesterday, let us keep our children in prayers. Our children are doing CXC. Let me call it by its correct name, CSEC. I bet I challenge the first person who tells me what is CSEC. How about to give away a couple free tickets this morning for the dinner and dance? Yeah, we could do that, right? You know what is the dinner and dance? We're going to play a little quiz in the course of the morning. Yeah. I got some questions on the dinner and dance to ask y'all. And we're going to give away a couple free tickets. We can afford that, man. It's Kams family. All the way one family. Open the door, let the man come in. If you ain't got 10,000, he could still come in. You know, sometimes you make provision for that. So this morning, I intend to give away some free tickets. Good? But should I put a clause on the free ticket? I give you one and you pay for the other. You must buy one and get one. Right? So in that way, you're going to come with your spouse. I want you to come and watch nobody thing, you know. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's good. Yes, it's Free Talk Friday. You know, Free Talk Friday, I am one of my happiest moments, you know. Because I get to talk freely. I ain't got to watch my words. Free Talk Friday. We deemed it that, man. And just a pressure busting pipe. Indeed, pressure busting pipe. And I'm happy to remind you. I'm very happy to remind you this, or inform you. Yesterday, the program, well, I was interrupted by a phone call, which I paused the program to take, and I reported to you later in the morning that the teachers and students at Anns Grove Secondary were pleading for help. I'm happy to report to you that their pleadings were answered, thanks to Kams TV. And that is to say to, you know them, trenches and latrine crappos and, you know, those who come to try to beat you into the ground and tell you you're wasting time. Like David Amsterdam and them, all of them, yeah. The people are getting resolutions from what we do here. That's a fact. So Anns Grove Secondary School compound is now clean. The garbage has been disposed of. What is CSEC, and John? CSEC, right? Is the examination which our children are writing. We usually call it loosely CXC, but the correct name is CSEC. But we're gonna talk about that just now. Yeah, so Anns Grove Secondary is now cleaned out. The garbage is disposed of and so on, and the place looks nice and tidy. I don't know if it smells fresh, but thanks to Kams TV, right? One of my public official friends had the temerity, I dare say the temerity, to message me and tell me, well, Mr. Amsterdam, the place has been cleaned out. Will you update your post? No, I'm not updating my post. I'm not updating my post to say that the place has been cleaned out. Why? Because in the first place, it should not have been left uncleaned. And so what I want? Redemption? No, I ain't got time to redeem nobody. Public officials must face ridicule when they fail to perform their duties. Who am I, your savior? No, I'm interested in saving the people. Too bad. Too bad. Get it right the first time, nobody will have to criticize you. That's all I'm saying. Good? Keep that in mind. And I later learned that it wasn't only the Anns Grove Secondary that was suffering this indignity, as I want to call it, as a result of this lawless and, irresponsible behavior of public officials. I understand a number of schools in the local area authority, right, were having that problem. Some of y'all are so anxious. It's so y'all let's get problems, I said we're going to get to the question just on Margaret Padmore already put up her answer. So you've been disqualified. You're not following the rules, Margaret. You've been disqualified. Right? Yes. What were we talking about? Yeah, we're talking about public officials not doing their duty. You see, when people fail to do their duties, they expose themselves to criticism. And a lot of them like to behave or respond as if the criticism is unwarranted. I'll tell you some story about criticisms. Right? Public criticism gets things done. Keep that in mind. Right? Keep that in mind. Public criticism gets things done. Because especially high officials do not like to be publicly ridiculed. And those who tell themselves that they are on top of the world. A couple of years ago, perhaps about 2 years, 3 years ago, some of you might remember this story. A security escort for one of the major businesses in Georgetown ran into the back of my vehicle. My son was driving at that time. They agreed that they were going to fix the vehicle. There was no need to go to the police, blah, 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 blah. And they started pushing people around. 1 week gone and nothing in doing to this vehicle. Meantime, I'm suffering. I can't get to go about my business because once I move, I got to pay taxi and so on. So in the negotiation, I said, listen, for as long as it takes you guys to fix this vehicle, you will have to provide a daily rental of a motor vehicle for me. The rate of rental was perhaps $5,000 a day. They said they can't afford to pay $5,000 a day for rental. They're only willing to give, let's say, $4,000 and so on. In the first place, they didn't want to give the rental. And so I can't go in with them to get compensation for the time my vehicle's down. And they got wrong. And they want to pay and so on and so on and so forth. And I made one post on Facebook. One post. About this company and the fact that they mash up my vehicle and they're pushing me around. In less than half hour, they called me. And asked me what time I could go to their headquarters to settle that issue. Right? And I decided to make the post because in my head, and I always share it with you guys, certain fights you don't fight quietly. The minute you decide to fight them quietly, you're going to lose. When you're fighting with the government, don't fight quietly. You're going to lose. They're going to corrupt the system against you. When you throw the dirty linen out there, when you fight publicly, you're going to get back in some odd corners. People are going to advise you based on their own experiences and so on. They're going to criticize the government. Moral suasion. And so it's likely you will get more justice than if you were to fight quietly. And I'm telling you these things so you can understand that. The people at Ansgrove Secondary, their garbage wasn't getting emptied. But once that post was made, despite the lack of resources and all of strike and all of that according to the caller, they find resources to go and clean the school. And that is important. Let's fight publicly. Let's fight publicly. Good. Let me fight publicly. So Bonita says CXC exams, Caribbean Secondary Examination Council, Patricia Nelson, Emily Durant in answer though. Where am I? Of course I'm leaving it up, Denise. Margaret Podmore says her answer was there a long time. Yeah, didn't you hear me say, Margaret, that you answered too early and you're disqualified? But let me not disqualify you based on that early answer. You disregarded the rules, but it's okay. But you answer wrong. Right? We talking things, man. Y'all don't worry yourself. My Skylark clear this morning past the hour. Yeah, I think so. Hopefully I find the time. It's Friday though, remember that. Right? I saw somebody had an answer which is the correct answer, but like it disappeared. Yeah, please send it back for me if you know yourself. Or I will have to go to the live itself and read it eventually. Right? Good. So whoever has this answer, I will check the live feed after and I will confirm it for you. CSEC. First and foremost, if you don't get the letters correctly in CSEC, then you can't get the answer right. Because it's an abbreviation. Right? CSEC. C-S-E-C. Right? C-S-E-C. Patricia Nelson, you got C-S-E-C. That's correct. But the meaning of the acronym is not correct. Right? The same thing happened to Padmore, I think. Right? It is CSEC, but it is Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate. Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate. That is what the children write their exams for. At fifth form, you write the exam so you can get your secondary education certificate. Right? In the US, that might be equivalent to the GED, I think, the General Education Diploma or something like that. I think that is what GED means. Right? So CSEC is the equivalent of GED. When you get your secondary education certificate, it says that, listen, you have completed secondary school, you have completed the secondary education, and you are competent. Right? You perhaps are functionally literate because you have what's the word we use there? I get them big these days. I'm forgetting a lot of terminology. Anyhow, you have the word was just there. Matriculated. Yes. Yes, you're matriculated, right? Good. So when your child does the CSEC, Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate exams, it's basically a certificate which says, well, this child is matriculated. But matriculation only comes, or you only are considered to have matriculated if you have been successful in maths, English, social studies, and science, the 4 core, right? If you did not succeed in the 4 core, then you really and truly have not matriculated. So it's important. That is why we place so much emphasis on maths, English, social studies, and science, right? Because once you pass those, you have matriculated. So when I mean in the Caribbean we call things by false name all the time. It's a CXC exam. It is CXC exams because it is administered by CXC. And CXC, strange, right? But CXC is the Caribbean Examination Council, right? Caribbean Examination Council. So what the child is actually sitting is the Caribbean Examination Council's Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate exam. CXC is CSEC, right? So our children have started writing those. Practicals were earlier in the year. I think home ec practical in particular was June. What am I saying? April, right? Sometime in April, and then the other examinations started, I think, in May here. Good. So let's keep that in mind and keep them in our prayers and so on, and offer whatever kind of support we can offer to them. I'm learning the GED is an alternative to high school diploma, right? So if you go to high school, if you go through the thing and you complete it, you get the high school diploma, right? But if you flunked out of high school, you can go and do the GED. Is that what I'm understanding? Perhaps. Yes, but that's it. CXC has many routes. I don't know why I'm discussing CXC to this extent, but it's a part of the teaching and learning process. CXC has many routes now to certification because it has the TVET programs, right? technical vocation education training or something to that extent, TVET. I think that's it. But TechVoc, right? CXC has a curriculum that caters really to different entry routes, as we call it, to even university and certification. The TechVoc is an alternative route for certification because you might have completed school and you did not matriculate. Is that word coming back again? You did not matriculate. And so a lot of people who didn't matriculate will go and maybe pump gas and get a little reading work and little security work and so on. I'm really happy I'm doing this right now, you know. So y'all share the live and share the information and show you grasp the information to share. Right, so all of those people who are doing quote-unquote low-level jobs out there because they have not matriculated at CXC, there's a second chance to them because they can go and do the TVET program. Right? The TVET program has different levels where you basically enroll in a TVET accredited institution based on whatever you want to do. There are modules that you have to complete, and as far as I remember, those modules can be completed at your pace. So at whatever pace the student can work, they get to work towards the completion of those modules. And after they have completed those modules, they will move to another set of modules and so on. So if it takes you 4 or 5 years to complete your TVET program, you eventually are going to get certification, right? It's really designed for, I would perhaps say, slow learners and, like I said, certain people who have not matriculated. Different circumstances cause people to fall out of school and not matriculate, right? And so that TVET program gives students, individuals, a second chance to get certified and so on. And it doesn't have to stop at just the TechVoc skills, because once you acquire TechVoc skills, you can move on if you think you have the ability. There are different routes, like I said, to getting certified through CXC these days. Right? It's worth, I quite honestly believe right now, it's worth that discussion, this time to discuss, because a lot of our young people were left behind by previous education system. A lot of our young people have not matriculated, and they're out there pumping gas, believing that it's the only thing they can do. They're out there doing security jobs, thinking it's the only thing they can do. Some of them are handymen, thinking it's the only thing they can do. But this kind of information can actually help them to see that there's a way to quote-unquote redeem themselves. I'm not critical of these jobs. Note, I'm not critical of these jobs. But I'm saying that if you have the capacity to do more and you can do better, then you will serve society much more. And so if you really have the ability, you realize that you messed up while you were at school, or because of whatever circumstances you didn't get to matriculate, you didn't get to complete school and so on, here are second opportunities for you. So we can share them with our youngsters, and parents can encourage them to, you know, go this route. Go this route. And so you get educated. Well, not educated, you get additional skills and so on. And once you're certified through the TVET program, remember there's this Caribbean Single Market and Economy thing that is supposed to be happening in CARICO, right? You can actually leave your country and go to another country to work with your TVET certificate. Excuse me. Understand that? So all of you who tell yourself, well, listen, I want to come out of this stinking dirty country, according to Trump, this shithole country. An easy way to get out without a hassle and get employment in other countries without a hassle in the Caribbean is by doing the TVET program. Right? So these are routes again of even getting out of the country and going into another man's country and start a business based on the single market and economy arrangement. Let me call it the single market window, and your TVET certification. Good. But I'm talking so much about CXC. You recognize that the CXC mathematics paper 2 was leaked? Did you? Yes, it was leaked. It was leaked. There were a lot of students, I want to believe I was made to understand, who knew that the paper was leaked, and so they went into the exams maybe with an unfair advantage over their colleagues who weren't aware that the paper was leaked. But by the end of the day, after the examinations, everybody knew that the paper was leaked, and they went home to look at the videos of the workings of the paper. Some of them missed it. They didn't get it before they go into the exams, but some of them went home and they looked at the videos after and were able in my mind to say, well, oh, screw, boy, I messed up, or second guess yourself basically in the exam. But what is important and interesting, perhaps disheartening, is the leakage of that paper. I'm not saying that examination leaks don't happen around the world. Right? I'm not saying leaks don't happen around the world. But since Noah was a boy, CXC examination papers are being leaked. I wrote CXC in the 90s. And since then, papers were being leaked. At the time, them big shot. Let me don't put it in that way. At the time, people who had money, people who could afford it, or people who had connections used to get those papers. And I think it is during that time that people started writing 40 and 50 subjects at CXC. Because they know that they can buy the papers and practice it, cram it as we like to say, and then go in the examinations, regurgitate the answers, and get nice grades. Not to say some students don't study for it, but I can tell you, papers were on sale since Noah was a boy. Even in my time, it might not have been on the rapid like it is now, because now it's easier to transmit the paper from one place to the other by the use of the World Wide Web and so on. Previously, you had to get a physical paper. Right? So the leakage of that paper is disheartening. I know a lot of our students are perhaps worried because the question is being asked, what will CXC do as a result of this leak? The Caribbean Examination Council has issued a statement that they're investigating the leak. Right? But students are wondering if they will have to resit these exams. As far as I know, in the past when papers were leaked, there were no reasons or no cause for resits. Because the fact is, if you ask people to resit the examination, it is like onto the argument Lowenfield was making or Vincent Alexander was making for the last elections. You are in essence punishing all those people who did the right thing for the few who did the wrong thing. So in the past, I am not aware that they had to resit the examinations. I think what CXC did, because if I remember clearly, I think in terms of allocating grades, they use a bell curve. I just think the limits are going to be shifted. I dare say upward. So it might become more difficult for a child to get a grade 1 in that mathematics paper. But I don't anticipate they are likely to discard the examination and say, let's do a resit. That's 1 and 2. The other thing is, in the Caribbean region, people do a lot of things to cover their asses. CYA, cover your ass. And so you might very well find CXC coming out with a statement to say there was no breach, or the breach was not widespread enough to cause the examinations to be discarded. Because CXC has to protect its integrity at the same time. Nobody wants to give credibility to a certificate resulting from an examination or an examination body that cannot protect the integrity of the examination. Right? And so that's something that we have to look at. That's something we have to concern ourselves with. The other thing is we have to teach our children to be honest in their dealings. I mean, everybody wants a grade 1. Every parent would like to know that their child has done exceedingly well at the examinations. But let them do it on the ethical standards. You don't aid and abet the corruption. Don't aid and abet it. But you know what? People can tell you that we're looking after ourselves. So you can't tell us don't aid and abet it. What? If my child can get the best grade, whether by cheating or not, because that's how the society operates. Right? Right? That's how the society operates. Alright, so let's keep that in mind. Let's encourage our children to be the best they can be, and let us encourage them to be ethical. Right? Ethical. Whatever the reward is, they must know within their hearts that this is what we worked for. This is a reflection of me, my true energy, my true worth. This is what I did. This is the outcome. Yeah, Brother Casey, it matters. It matters. At least in my mind it matters, because you can outshine the idiot. Right? You can outshine the idiot. You only know that there's an idiot in the house if you are not an idiot. It's as simple as that. Good. So at 8 hours 1, and Ronnie says corruption is done by the upper class and not the lower class. That in a large way I was saying, when I said them big shot, people who got the resources to buy the paper and so on would generally pay for it. Right? Right? They would do that. Good. That's why you got a lot of square pegs and round holes in this country, because a lot of people are certified. But they were certified under questionable circumstances. Take, for example, the person that is referred to as the idiot as president. This man has a doctorate, according to them, in urban development. And look at the nonsense that the nonsense that they're doing in this country. I'm calling it development. Good. They got a whole lot of doctors in the PPP, but look at the foolishness that they're doing in the name of governance. Brenda, I will take you on this argument because, and I hope not to spend too long on it. Brenda is saying that the idiot is getting richer and richer as the educated is unemployed. That might be a fact. But you see, when we allow others to, in my mind, I want to say, shape our outlook, our approaches to life and so on. To some extent, we put ourselves on dangerous grounds when we allow the behavior of others to dictate that. This is why I'm saying it. It is the same outlook that has the Guyanese society the way it is. Because our youngsters are looking at the society and they're seeing that the corrupt are thriving. Those who are corrupt and got government connections, they're thriving. Despite the fact that they're ill-educated or not educated at all. They're illiterate. Right? And so the talk becomes in the society, why, I don't need an education to get rich, I just need some corrupt friends or connections. And so everybody, the youngsters have adopted this attitude now: get rich quick or die trying. And it is the get-rich-quick syndrome or the get-rich-quick attitude which over the years has been placing a lot of our youngsters and even elders in serious hot water, in trouble in the society. And that's why we are just going down a slippery slope all the time. Because even those who sit in the seat of government have this approach, this attitude that it is get-rich-quick time. And so they're not operating with any kind of ethics. They're not operating with any kind of nationalism. All they're focusing on is getting rich quick. The PPP government and a lot of ministers of the PPP government give good testimony to that. The allegations against Dharam Lal giving contracts to some child of his from the state coffers is a prime example of that mentality. Unfair advantage being created through insider trading. Good. Corrupt practices because you sit in the seat of power in government. You bully people, you take away their property, you dispossess them in the name of government. But in reality, you're dispossessing them for yourself. I mentioned earlier this week, and I have some documents here from some folks who sent them to me, thank you, about that piece of land at Melanie, the Numpearl Turn as we call it area, which originally belonged to the Vijay Co-op. That land is now under development, assumably by the Ministry of Housing. But the information I'm getting is that while the Ministry of Housing has sent equipment there to do the development or clearing of the land is actually going to be placed in the hands of a private developer, a friend of the PPP, to erect some kind of complex. So there is no respect for law, no respect for process in how these things are done. Because we have this mentality, the rich getting, the duns them getting rich all the time, and we with our education are left behind. Right? That is one of the biggest bugbears of this society. I have seen documents as I am talking about that co-op, that business there. I hope you guys know where we're talking about. It's the first turn where you're heading east from Georgetown. You're heading east and you're going to the Barbies. It's the first turn after the gas station, Chico Rama's gas station. The first turn approaching Melanie. On your left, there's a large swath of land there. I've seen documents which indicate that a section there is a part of the land assets of the Vijay Co-op based on the vesting order. Right? Based on the vesting order. Block 13, as they call it, was given to the Vijay Co-op, and that piece of land there is part of the Block 13 land. Based on some arrangement, it was to be assigned to Felicia Beard Associates. But the PPP, in their usual way, in 2010, was attempting to transport the land, all of the land, all of the Vijay lands, by a transport that was advertised in the Gazette. the judge should approach the courts to challenge that transfer. Among other things, the courts issued an injunctive order against the deeds registry. I think Central Housing and any agents of the state. There were conditions attached. That transport for that plot of land must be issued to Felicia Baird Associates for the plot of land, not all of the lands that were being transferred. And they were being given 2 years and so on to develop it. Failure, it will revert, it will go to the Central Housing and Planning Authority, etc., etc. Those were some of the conditions. Based on research and my understanding, no transport has ever been issued for that plot of land to anybody. And so technically it still finds itself, that piece of land still finds itself under Vigilance Co-op. But what is happening today? The government of Guyana has moved in on the land. Well, I'm using government of Guyana loosely and widely because I understand allegedly the instructions came from Anil Nandlal to the Central Housing. Y'all go and clean that piece of land because the co-op ain't got resources to develop it. And housing must take it. Because there's some arrangement to hand it over to some private developer. That plot of land there, from my understanding, represents 55 house lots. Or at least 55 house lots. It means that when government and their cronies take it away from the co-op, 55 possibly middle income or poor people are going to be denied a house lot in that place. Because the co-op, for the greater part, I hope I am right, would make those lands available to residents around the area, ordinary rank and file citizens, you know. But when Central Housing takes it over, or in this instance as allegations are made, when it is handed over to a private developer, you know what is going there. You know what is going there, right? So they're dispossessing poor people because of this mentality that we must get rich and we must get richer than everybody else and we must get rich at all cost. That is what is happening. Meantime, there are people who have receipts for purchase of lands from Felicia Baird Associates, because like I said, title was supposed to be passed to Felicia Baird's Associates. Well, of course, Felicia Baird is now dead, and our estate is therefore supposed to be or heirs and so on will naturally become the rightful owners. For example, in 1990, the 27th of November, somebody paid $47,000. Right? $47,000. And it is in payment of processing fee for a plot of land measuring 60 feet by 150 feet. Good? Entrance fee to society infrastructural works. And these were payments that would have been covering a home at Green Acres. That is what the development was going to be called, Green Acres. Good? So if those people who bought those lands or who paid those monies in the 90s for a plot of land measuring 60 by 150 at Green Acres, that same plot of land there, I would argue that they have claim to that land. Right? They have fair expectation of being awarded a plot of land there which they paid for since, what, about 33 years ago? But here is the government of Guyana, the PPP to be exact, just moving in on the land and taking it away. How do we resolve this kind of dispossession? Because co-op is poor people business. How do we resolve a situation where government is moving in and taking away poor people land? How? You have the situation with Anil at Enmore North. Anil at Enmore North indicated the gathering out there that the land belonged to the co-op. It was acknowledged that the land belonged to the co-op. I think that was a Friday afternoon. When I went out there and I did a live. Moniz, who is the Commissioner of Lands and Surveys, Anil, who is masquerading as Attorney General, and some representative I can't remember from the Ministry of Housing, all admitted in the lens of the camera, quite frankly, that the land belonged to the co-op. And the co-op had a right to develop the land. They advised the co-op that there were some steps that the co-op should have taken but missed. And so let the co-op go through the process of taking those steps, let me call it that. And in particular, the thing they had said is that the co-op should have applied for what they call change of land use. Because previously the plot of land was not used for housing. It was apparently used for farming, let's say. And so since they're converting it to housing land now, they should apply to the Ministry of Housing for change of land use. That is the advice that was given to them. We have it on tape, we saw it. An undertaking was actually given that once you all apply for the change of land use, it will be granted so that you can proceed with the development. But by Monday morning or Monday afternoon, representatives of the Ministry of Works, Ministry of Housing, Central Housing and Planning Authority turned up on that very plot of land at Enmore and put up signs like these: property of the government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, site reserved for future development. All trespassers incorrectly spelt shall be prosecuted. Now the information I'm getting on this, again, let me tell you, because I know more than 70, or I should say almost 100, ordinary citizens across this country, or across the region, have paid for house lots through their membership of that co-op. Almost 100 persons who are members of that co-op have been allocated plots of land in that area that is now developing, where the government of Guyana has placed these no trespassing signs. So they have this attempt to dispossess ordinary citizens of this plot of land, which more than almost 100 persons have already paid for as house lots to develop their homestead. That doesn't concern Anil. It doesn't concern CHPA. It doesn't concern anybody in government that they're going to dispossess almost 100 persons. You know what concerns them? That their supporters are complaining about this land allocation by the co-op. Their supporters, a few Indo-Guyanese in Edmore North, are complaining to the PPP that these lands were given up by the co-op, and maybe their next generation didn't get any because they didn't choose to become a member of the co-op and they didn't choose to apply for the lands. But as the lands have been allocated, they went to Freedom House and complained, and Anil chose to act to satisfy them, irregardless of the law, irregardless of who owns the land. And the instruction therefore given to Central Housing allegedly by Anil is that they should go put up these signs and stop everything happening on that land. Further to that, it is alleged that Anil has advised the Enmore NDC that they have superior powers to the co-op, they have overriding authority over the co-op, and therefore they should cause members of the co-op or members living in that co-op known as North Haslington Co-op Society, the boundaries wherever they are, all the occupants of those homes and so on. Anil has advised the NDC that they must make them pay taxes to the NDC, number one. And number two, once they make those residents pay taxes to the NDC, they can override the authority of the co-op and take over the plot of land that these no trespassing signs are on. In short, it is alleged that Anil Nandlal and the PPP court have now hatched a plan to dispossess the members of the North Haslington Co-op of that plot of land that is under development. A misuse of public office. Because all of the advice which he has given, according to my understanding, I'm no lawyer, are contrary to the Co-ops Act. And contrary, therefore, to the laws of Guyana. But what? Get rich quick or die trying. Get what you want at all cost, regardless of laws and ethics. That is what we're faced with in this country today. And I understand it didn't come overnight. It came from a development of a culture, from as simple as buying CXC paper, to buying university degrees, to buying masters and doctorates, to buying rulings at the courts. That is what has us where we are right now in this society. It's 22 minutes after the 8 o'clock hour. The lines are open. Let's talk about this possessing the ordinary man through these corrupt and illegal practices. What do you think should happen in situations like these, where the co-op are the bona fide owners of these lands and the government is just moving in to dispossess people? Let's talk. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. And I did say we're going to do that little quiz, right? So we're going to give away about 3 tickets today. One gone to the CSEC answer. I don't know who. Somebody needs to claim that ticket. Call A Live, good morning.
Yes, very good statement. Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, all Guyanese, and good morning, everyone in the diaspora. If you check the timeline, you may very well see that I was the first person to give you your answer on your WhatsApp. So, concerning the CSEC question. And if I do win that, I would like to donate it to the children of Joshua House in Georgetown. Now,
let's take a pen coffee.
Yes, sir.
All the children of Joshua House will share this one ticket, boss.
Yes. any child who is deserving can do that, because you have a program that's for children. CXC is all about children. So it's only fitting that it goes to someone in that capacity who has a demonstrated need. Right? You know, that's in the context of CXC in education and children.
Okay, let's move on.
Good. Now, you raised a question concerning taking back of lands. But before I get to that, I wanted to raise something about Mr. Lincoln Lewis last night on the Politics 101. Because this is a subsidiary program of Politics 101.
Who told you that?
Okay? And that's why under the WPA.
This is a Buxtonian morning program. This is a Guyanese morning program. This is Kams Tv program. Don't make connections where they don't exist. Go ahead and make your point.
Okay. Well, I thought that we were supporting the WPA. Yeah, I am getting to the point. So, the 15 points that was discussed by Dr. Hines last night, he raised the point about affirmative action. And he also raised another point about school lunches. And I think school lunches is an excellent point when we're talking about doing for the community and doing for the children and talking about CXC and education. Right? So the lunch program for children, I think that's a wonderful program, and possibly we can try to encourage persons in the diaspora, because we're always talking about the youth. Okay? The affirmative action point, I don't think the affirmative action point, well, from where I'm standing, I hope that we have given it sufficient thought. Affirmative action seems to be on our lips today, because largely probably because we're in opposition. I don't know how long affirmative action has been something that we have been pushing as a group, as a demographics in Guyana. I don't know how long, because affirmative action can open all types of doors. Just like the internet, the Cyberspace Act can open all types of doors that you really didn't want to open up in the first place. And you find you know what I'm seeing happening in the military. This East Indian guy that just got promoted the other day, he's not properly qualified. Khan. That seems to me like an affirmative action promotion. A lot of the police that have been promoted who are not qualified, square pegs and round hole, that the coalition has been lamenting about, those are affirmative action promotions. But it's unwritten affirmative action. The PPP has begun to use affirmative action, and I think the PNC is very well aware of that. But it's a, nod, nod, wink, wink, unwritten code of affirmative action. So affirmative action is already happening, and we are complaining against it. We are complaining against this affirmative action. But I keep hearing some people in the opposition who are favorable for affirmative action. So I want to say be very cautious about what we ask for concerning affirmative action. You asked the question, how do we resolve government taking away poor people's lands? Well, there are several ways in which we can do that, starting with the COI. The COI that President Granger had commissioned for ancestral lands and indigenous lands. Now, I am still waiting to see it somewhere on somebody's page, the results of that COI. Maybe I missed the show. But that COI could answer a lot of questions. All of the recent questions you just asked on this morning, the COI, I think, deals with that. From reading the intent of it in Parliament when it was being proposed. A lot of ancestral lands, a lot of concerns about who owns what will be on that commission. Maybe we can ask the leadership of the party. Maybe we can ask the parliament, the clerk of the court, the clerk of parliament. Maybe he should have that. Maybe we could ask the information czar. Okay, Mr. Ramsden. So I don't know, or we could ask the court on a basic suit to present that. So just to answer your question, to start off, the best blueprint would be the commission, going all the way back to ancestral land. And I think that's my last point.
Thank you very much.
On the commission, there's something that I wanted to talk about, but it's kind of slipped my head at this point.
All right, it happens. It's called aging gracefully.
Yes, but before I go, because have you heard anything about the commission on the indigenous and ancestral lands? Have you heard anything about that? The results of that?
No, I know it was held.
Okay.
Former President Green should have the report. Thank you. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Call and let's talk the thing. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. I see a voice note here.
And Kadaki, you know how much of the trend cheese that they're selling peanuts and so on the corner of the road on Jamaica Avenue, and they're licking down the black people and selling little food on the side of the road, and little chicken foot and plantain chips and so.
Call it live. Good morning.
Morning, Kadaki, and morning, Guyana. Great call from Coffee. And what I would like to raise is that with what the racist mafia installed PPP is doing, the question that I've always asked, how do we find redress when we are in a position, or when we find ourselves in position of being in the government? Do we repossess and take back what the racist PPP have done for to poor people? And how do we as a people, seeing what's going on, and it just seems to me we don't get any help in trying to stall, in trying to put an end to this. It's just over and over, it seems to be happening to us. And I don't think, as I said yesterday, do African Guyanese know the dire straits they're in Guyana? And I don't think we understand the gravity of race, or how racist this government is. And all their supporters, when we talk about this, have bringing up issues, they say nothing on this. So, which leads me to think they agree with what's going on. And something needs to be done, because they are doing stuff with no type of morality, no sense of law. They keep getting away with it day in and day out, and it's just being allowed by everyone in Guyana. And my take is, hell, if you're taking it away and whatever you put up there, just burn it ass down. Brock it up. That's my take.
Thank you for your call. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call.
tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. I see the representatives of the PPP, let me not call them by the full name this morning. They get offended. I see they're talking about they're making a long list. Let me call it a long list of who got land and who didn't get land under the coalition government. And they're naming names. They're naming names. You see the names that they're naming. Let me tell you all this. And according to them, I'm silent on it. Let me tell you all this. I will not condemn these people for getting land. I will ask the question. Did they follow a procedure? Did they dispossess anyone? Were the laws followed? Are they entitled to access lands as Guyanese? Because a lot of the lands that they're talking about here, that this person got and that person got 4 acre and 5 acre and 6 acre and so on, are lands which were, I think, under the same lands and survey, GLSC. And those lands were being allocated not only to individuals but co-ops along the Suzaik Highway and so on. But I didn't hear any of them mention that just before the PPP left office, Ali got a large swath of land, several acres of land stretching along the Suzaik Highway. So what happened? Only one set of people got the right to get lands in this country. It's only well and good when some people get lands in this country. So why you want me to criticize black people for getting land? I'm criticizing the theft of land from black people by the PPP government, which is predominantly Indian, led by a ravaging, unethical chap masquerading as Attorney General. Look at all of these land dispossessions from black people, and you tell me if they follow the law. And as we're talking about development, let me ask you all this. That image you see there, David Granger School Bus number 6, is that our country gets developed? By one government taking a facility that was made available by a previous government and dumping it in a corner? That's development? Call it live, good morning. Call it live, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you and all my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. This is Flash Garden again. And let me repeat what my grandmother teach me in the age of 9. As you're going out, look out for these things. Because these are the things 80% of Koli people love. Money, power, land, and they love to kill black people. And Flash Garden is saying this. We must have something what we love. And black folks in Guyana, my black brother and sister, we must love these words. Unity, support, and if black people can live in peace, Koli people must not live in peace. This is not racial. I born and go between Koli, and I know them very well. That's why I could talk about them today. The opposition leader must keep a rally and let the black people them know plain what he will do when them take away black people land in that way. He will nationalize whatever go there and give black poor people back their land. It belongs to them. Our foreparents died for that land. They work hard and pull their money and buy that land. Land don't spoil. If they don't have money for development, leave it there. It belongs to them. It is time for the coalition speak out what he going to do when he get in office, when black people put him back in office, what he will do for them. And I believe he should do exactly what Idi Amin did in Uganda. He gave them white people 72 hours for leave and he give back black people all them business. Because it's the way all them white folks was taken away and only want to dominate all the business in Uganda, all the front land. No, it should not happen in Guyana. You're talking about education. From since me small growing up, Collie love to give white envelope and take white envelope. They love to buy them education. They love to pay for it. And I still studying. That young man with the last qualification, he sit, that Collie boy, he sit 27 subjects and pass all 27. Which he get time to take a 5, or go to the bathroom or take a shower. Them buy them papers. I know that Collie love that buy them papers. But the program this morning mostly is the land. Black people got to come together and fight what belongs to us. Our fourth parents work hard and fight for, and we must keep it. Thank you guys very much, and happy Good Friday. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for your call. Elijah made home 6225923 is the number to call. Mohammed Riaz, look out, I'm going to block you.
Take a 5, or go to the bathroom or take a shower. Then buy them paper.
I'm going to block you, Mohammed Riaz. You don't come on my program and cuss. Where's the trouble, boy? In about 10 minutes time. Well, yes. The lines are open. 6225923 is the number to call. Yeah, you see, part of the challenge in this society, some people will tell you.
I know that Collie love that buy them papers.
That recommendations.
But the program this morning.
A lot of things have not been righted. A lot of wrongs have not been righted in this society, despite governments have changed. Because a lot of our politicians make promises to the international community to not go after these land thieves and so on and so forth. And so those promises they go into office and they honor. And so those who have done wrong to this society are never made to face the court because of some promise made to some international agency or the ABCDEZ countries and so on. But I long for the day when politicians are going to promise the people of the country that there will be restitution. And there will be more organizations, institutions like SARA to go and reclaim state assets from these thieves. And not only reclaim it, but put them before the courts. And in some cases, some of them should even go before the firing squad. Call A Live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Kodaki, and all listening public. First thing, there is one of your faithful viewers called me, is a cousin, Claudette Boville, to say she used to get a little thing too, you know, like a little flag, a little heart or follower, and she ain't seen those, so she's very worried if she's not still on the program. So I don't know how you could rectify it. Claudette Boville Lewis. Now coming back to the CXC exam, I'd like me old time thing. Remember the story with he and the donkey, the man and the salt? He dropped in the creek and the salt became less. And he keep dropping in the same creek and lessening the salt. And one merchant said, you know what? I'm going to teach you a lesson. He got a big load that was by far lighter than the little bit of salt. Not knowing that there was a light load when dry, but heavy when the complete opposite of the salt. So when he dropped in the stream with the sponge, when he came out, he could have hardly fed the heavy load of sponge because it was fully saturated with water. And I think that when DXC realized that their papers have been duped, set a harder test than before. Let all the children rewrite the test. And when they rewrite the test, because now you thief the paper, you're getting A plus distinction and the subject. So you got full knowledge of the subject. So when you write back the subject, then you will see the culprits and the non-culprits, because you're going to make certain that that paper wasn't leaked, and then you will know the scramblers of the paper. And that way you say, with this 20 subjects, I had a child that wrote 9 subjects. And the 9 subjects stated that the child wrote, it was more grueling to me than the child, because I be the parent to wait until midnight to call that child to do work. Sometimes I call the child at midnight, and when I hear the language, I say, Lord, give this child 1 hour. When I call out in the June, 1 o'clock, when I call the child, get the same repetition. I said, before I got a mad child to get the subjects, let me sleep. You put your child to 20 subjects. Which subject area will that child come out and major in? So people doing these things, they don't know that they are destroying the children. And when the children is finished, when you buy the papers, you end up with a lot of people with 40 and 50 subjects because of these papers that do leak. And when you put them into the job setting, as they say, square pegs in round holes. Now the other thing with Anil, you see, when you grow up, you get married, you get your children, you got nursery school, you got for pack lunch kit, you got to go to school program, and as the child progress in the school life, you got comprehensions, then you got the wonderful teen years. You see, all of these things there takes your energy. But when you go through life, you ain't get the anchor in children, you're married, you look to get children. Now you don't have that in your DNA to look at children. You look for other avenues, and because they have placed themselves into areas like ruling the government, you try to do all what you could do. Now there is a thing in this country about abuse to women. Now they talk about gender violence. And when things like Anil come up and attack the judicial system, mainly attacking the women in those areas, are like this lady was the one the so dildo, and the other one Makai the backstabber, and these different things to women. It shows that Guyana is going down the road of gender abuse to the female gender throughout Guyana. You look at it. Then they're going to stand up now and talk when they got this, they abuse women to say the talking. What can the echelons of the installed regime speak against gender violence? And then when you look at certain set of them, you see the products of the gender violence coming out in the family circle, where the women who are in this hierarchy, they look to run out at the slightest point. They look for that kind of acceptance as being a woman, and then you hear those big dirty scandals. We all know where it's the scandal. So when we talk, we see what is going on. Last, now the hospitals, there is a new breed of hospitals coming out, and now the government hospitals, because they are not doing more surgeries now, these people are now being farmed out to the new hospital, the new kid on the block, with persons up in the hierarchy of the installed regime are making the pronouncement on who will be going across to the new kid on the block to have surgeries performed. So what they are doing, they are starving the government and to these hospitals. And quite recently, we had the problem where the woman went to do a simple surgery, and when she wake up and did catch herself, body part gone. So Guyana, I am with you 100% on the new opening, the new building of hospitals, private hospitals around the town, around the country. And these hospitals are being placed in every region. And I don't know if I go to jail or a few when you talk to the girl on the road. I hope you can look into it, and then you could take it from there and see if that rumor has truth in it. I don't want, because I know you don't say, you're saving me from myself. And when it comes to the dinner and dance, listen to me, don't cut me off. You say people got to walk with the people to enjoy themselves. So I wonder who I walking with, because you know I'm a lone ranger and I ain't able to walk with anybody thing, and I get to lick him on the road from Buxton to the Amstel. So please look for a partner for me, and then we're going to talk about going to the show. And what Coffee said is that could go to the children. Remember, you got to give the children the thing on the board there. You can convert coffee donation to those children. Bye bye.
But who says coffee donation? You know, if coffee win the competition. Call it live. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Kadaki.
Call it live. Good morning.
Like I mentioned yesterday, that I would advocate for you get a seat at the table. Pertaining to this repossessed land, I know you would embark on stuff like that. That is why I said, whenever this cabal get out of office, you need to get a seat at the table. That is one point. The second point, this jackass Jack Dio that went into Linden and talking about they bill Amelia's ward and Black 22. What is guy really? We really got in his head? He smoke cheap weed, or he taking cocaine, or what? When Farbs Burnham farm Amelia's ward by self-help, this guy like he gotta go back to nursery school to learn about this program. I can't see somebody tell him blatant lie. Is one set of people lie so much? Is female people lie like that?
Caller,
I gotta check him out.
Caller, I won't have you disrespecting women.
No, but let me tell you, is female lie like that?
Caller,
so something really wrong with him.
Human beings lie. Sexy matter.
Okay, all right. But something wrong with that guy. They gotta check his brains or something for telling such a blatant lie.
No, nothing is wrong with him. And this is, stay on the line if you have more things to say. But let me interject here. This is the problem we get. We think something wrong with Jagdio. Nothing wrong with Jagdio. Jagdio has a program, an agenda. And his utterances are in keeping with that agenda. The people that something wrong with are the people who believe these lies.
I know in some country he had us to run through the back door. The
people that will sit and allow him to tell them these things blatantly, and they just sit quietly and mumble among themselves, either because they don't know or they're afraid to ups him with his nonsense, are the people who got something wrong with them.
For real. It's real disgusting. It is real disgusting. Because I don't know what Linden people lead into. What forget somebody like that going into Linden and making them kind of claims there. Anyhow, you have a blessed day.
Thank you.
And continue teaching the teaching.
I often say contrary wind make Kiskadi and Karenko end up the same limb. Contrary wind. It's contrary wind. As David Hines, Dr. Hines says, it's not normal time. A piece of time, Jackie and them would have shiver for going Linden, much less they're going to talk nonsense. First and foremost, they would have been talking to empty spaces. Nowadays, everywhere the PPP people turn up, black people turning up in large numbers. Why? They're expecting to get a handout. I am being very honest. They got this mentality, the same get rich quick syndrome mentality. We gotta eat the food. I said we're gonna turn up and we're gonna demean ourselves and we're gonna disregard our history and we're gonna disregard the struggles and we're gonna disregard the sacrifices made by those who went before us because we gotta eat the food. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. Secondary school Caribbean examination.
I'm looking for a video somebody sent me complaining about the street in Vigilance North or South. I don't know why I'm not finding it. I'm sure I looked at it early in the day. But I don't know where it is right now. Hopefully I'll get it to show before I leave. I will also promise to forward it to Robin Phillips. Robin Phillips is the PPP representative for Vigilance. So I will forward that video to Robin so that he can action it. Because the PPP, I saw a video yesterday with the PPP saying that the constituent candidates, I think, in Georgetown were walking around and bringing relief to people by their intervention. I want to find that video again to play it. I'm going to teach you how something this morning.
Good morning, Kodaki. All I observe, this world do not run by rules anymore. So if Norton think he's going to go in there and play by the rules and behave like Granger, I don't think it would last too long. If you get a table of card players gambling and a few of them are dishonest and the rest are honest, you better believe it, the honest one is going to lose all of their money. The world has changed. The world do not play by rules and by laws anymore. And that is what have black people where they are today. Ranger was saying, oh, the GCOM is autonomous body, and what GCOM says is that, and we will go to GCOM, and that is what get black people today on the street. So, bye.
Thank you for that voice note. Y'all please stop sending voice notes now. It's past program time. It's almost.
A pleasant good morning to all the Guyanese people out here. The question I have this morning is if, and it's a big if we have a change of government, will they right the wrongs? All of the discrimination practices that has been taking place. For instance, I applied for a piece of land. They came, I started to build, they came and break down my place and give me a notice after. Then the compensation that they compensate me was not enough for what my property and land was valued. And there's many people that have experienced this. majority is from the black race and a few other races. Have experienced things of this nature. If we do get a government change, are they going to compensate some of these people, giving them back lands, paying them back fully amount of money? Are they gonna I want to know if they're gonna take these kind of actions, because we got short memories. You know, it's like the politicians, you know, goes into the neighborhoods, goes into the communities, and make a lot of promises during the election time. And when they get what they want, they forget about you. You know, Mr. Granger was in Linden preaching and talking all of these fancy things. But did he help the people in Linden?
Did he not help the people in Linden? I want to ask that question. Did Granger government not help the people in Linden?
Hi, good morning, Kadaki. I am hard-pressed to find between Guyana and Trinidad any other race of people who have committed more crimes than the East Indians. Those of us who are old enough would remember in Guyana, there's a guy by the name of Diokananan or something like that from Crabwood Creek on the Quarantine, and what he did. You go to Trinidad, the case of Boise Singh, who killed hundreds of people and dumped their bodies in the Gulf of Paria. Again in Trinidad, Dole Chaddy. Boise Singh was eventually executed in 1957. Dole Chaddy in Trinidad, again a drug dealer, killed dozens of people. Some of the bodies were even buried on the property that he lived. He was eventually found guilty and executed sometime in the early 2000s. There's another case in Guyana, disturbing case in Guyana, where one fella killed his wife and buried her in the backyard, in the same yard that he lived in. These people have shown their ability in committing serious crimes without even thinking. You know, I had a cousin, he's no longer with us, but he taught at universities here in the United States. And he would always say to me, he said, these Indians, the hardest thing they do to get their degree is to go to the post office to purchase their money order and then to mail their letter in. It is called a mail order degree or degree mail. Go to YouTube and you will see the level of criminality that is taking place where that is concerned. Mail order degree or degree mail, and most of it is done through Pakistan.
Thank you for that voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam and listeners. My heart bleeds for those people that are being disenfranchised daily. Now, I don't forget certain things. And when people say certain things, it goes into my elephant's trunk that I call a memory. I distinctly remember Nandalal saying that if they got into government, he would make people run from Guyana. As far as I'm concerned, all of his actions point in that direction. Nandalal does not have respect for the law, and personally I feel he shouldn't be the Attorney General, because most of the things that he does are spiteful things, right? I'm thinking about Mr. Lincoln Lewis and all the other legal matters that he gets involved in, and most of the time he doesn't win anything. It's a disgrace, a shame, and a disgrace how my beloved country is going, with people like Nandalal, Jagdio, and all of them. Waste of time, that's what they are. A waste of time. And they do not have the interest of the Guyanese people at heart. I'm sure they're going to use him to talk about the money, the award that was given by the judge. Now, how could these people be interested in the welfare of the Guyanese persons when they're opposing something? I don't think some of them even understand the repercussions of that oil spill. But the fish always thinks from the head, and we have a president who can't prove his qualifications, and the list goes on. That's all I say for this morning.
Thank you for that call, that voice note. This is development. Y'all take a good look at development. Y'all look at development. This is a voice note that came with it.
Mr. Amsterdam, good morning. Good morning to all right thinking Guyanese. I am posting this video. This is a street in Vigilance South. This is what we're putting up with. It's not raining today, and this is the condition of the street. When you call taxis and you mention this street name, no taxi wants to come. If you do get a taxi to bring you, you have to walk. It does not matter the hour. If it's 12 o'clock in the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, a taxi don't bring you. Anything can happen to you in the street when you have to walk. I don't know, from the time I lived in this scheme, this street was done once, and that's years ago. Years. If I lie, it's like 20 years, no? About, yeah, 18 to 20 years. The street was done, and they're doing nothing at all. School children, when they pass, you have to be cutting branch and putting, way up in the grass. Snakes, you can get bit, because one night I was coming in and this big black snake crawling in front of me. Lo and behold, I had a flashlight and it saved me. It's not fair. All this development, all these monies and whatever, why is it? Why is it that we have to face these nonsense? The government need to do something. They say one Guyana. Is it one Guyana? When some people has to walk in mud, we don't have cars. We can't afford to buy. I cannot afford to buy a car. I cannot, not even a bicycle. I'm a grown woman. Why I have to go through all of this? They have a sick child in the street where the ambulances have to come for sometimes. Why are these people not fixing? They have paved roads. They're doing all over the place. What happened? They even have a street in the back. They're doing the housing scheme where these trucks coming through and mashing up the roads. It's unfair. It's unfair. The government needs to do something. I am putting up this street. I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for other people because they're sitting on their loins and expecting things to get done. When you call on them to come out, they have sad stories. I need to get my street done. And I'm calling on the government to come and fix it. They're talking about one Guyana. It's not one Guyana.
Kidaki, the persons in Victoria, they're complaining that Karen Cummins, who's the representative of that area, they're not seeing her, neither anyone. That's the reason why when the PPP representative going to the village, they will go to them and listen what they got to say, despite they know his promises. Now Mr. Norton cannot do better and more than what he's doing. He has other people. These people who they nominate for councillors and all these other things need to come out, go to the people, talk with them. The people need to see the PNC people.
Thank you for that call. I will say nothing about that call. For the caller who said that the coalition did none for Linden, that's a whole long discussion that we can have, but I disagree with that position. The coalition did for Linden. It might not have done enough, but it did. Right? It might not have done enough, but it did. And in some instances, we blame we blame government because of the behavior of some individuals. Let me just keep that in mind. Some individuals misbehave and the whole government takes blame. Right? But the buck stops right there. Have a good morning, y'all. It's Friday. I got other things to take care of. Y'all know what happens on Friday. Children are priorities for me on Friday. Have a good day. Be best. Big up yourself. At my leisure, I'm going to go through the program, look at the live chat so I can compare times of answers and decide who were the winners of that ticket. I didn't even get to ask the other questions, but we will get them. Who knows? Maybe I will give you Twilight Hour on Sunday. Maybe, just maybe. But it will be on Club Twilight's page, so you can go across the Club Twilight